This is Barry Zalma, Zalma on insurance. I'm an attorney who is retired from the practice of law and now spend my time as an insurance claims consultant, expert witness, author, and producer of these videos. Today, I'd like to speak about Zalma's Insurance Fraud Letter, Volume 25, Number 12, the issue for June 15, 2021. It is available at my website, zalma.com, and there are links to Zalma's Insurance Fraud Letter for the last 2 episodes. It is published twice a month on the 1st and 15th of each month. The lead article in today's issue is, What is Insurance Fraud? When an insurer is asked to pay a fraudulent insurance claim, it is the victim of a tort, a civil wrong, and in most states, a crime. Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition, defines fraud as, quote, an intentional perversion of the truth for the purpose of inducing another in reliance upon it to part with something of value belonging to him or to surrender a legal right, a false representation of a matter of fact, whether by words or by conduct, by false or misleading allegations or by concealment of that which should have been disclosed, which deceives and is intended to deceive another, so that he shall act upon it to his legal inquiry. Close quote. In simple American, insurance fraud is defined as a lie told for the purpose of obtaining money from another who believes the lie to be true. Civil insurance fraud exists if an insured, 1, makes a representation to the insurer that the insured knows is false. 2, conceals from the insurer a fact he or she knows is material to the insurer. 3, makes a promise he or she does not intend to keep. 4, makes a misrepresentation on which the insurer relies in issuing the policy. And 5, that results in the insurer incurring damage. To protect insurers against fraud, most insurance policies contain in clear and unambiguous language a clause similar to the following from the New York Standard Fire Policy, quote, this entire policy shall be void if, whether before or after a loss, the insured is willfully concealed or misrepresented any material fact or circumstance concerning this insurance or the subject thereof or the interest of the insured therein. Close quote. Fraud may be committed at different stages in the insurance transaction by 1, applicants for insurance, 2, policyholders, 3, third-party claimants, and 4, professionals who provide services to insureds or claimants. Those who commit insurance fraud range from 1, organized criminals who steal large sums through fraudulent business activities, 2, insurance claims mills, 3, professionals and technicians who inflate the cost of services or charge for services not rendered, 4, people in need of cash who are recruited for a fee to be victims in an auto accident. In one case, recruiters just stood outside casinos and found the people who lost money from their downtrodden faces and recruited them to be victims to make back their losses. 5, ordinary people who want to cover their deductible. Or 6, ordinary people who view filing a claim as an opportunity to make a little money. Healthcare insurance, workers' compensation, and auto insurance are believed to be the sectors most affected by insurance fraud. However, insurance fraud comes in all shapes and sizes. They include, with regard to first-party property insurance, health care, workers' compensation, insurance, auto insurance fraud, staged auto accidents, arsons for profit, insurer fraud, fraud committed by insurance companies, fake thefts, fake vandalism and malicious conduct, faked hail and windstorm damage, acquisition of insurance under false pretenses by misrepresentation of material facts, by concealment of material facts or fraud. Specialists who know insurance and insurance fraud investigate it. It is at least, in California where I live, and the other 49 states that have criminal insurance fraud statutes, a rather simple crime to prove. It should be the type of case a prosecutor would want to file and try to a jury. Instead, as an ex-prosecutor once said to me, insurance fraud is a crime prosecutors run away from because the cases are usually heavy with documentary evidence and are complex to prove to a lay jury. Consider the public outcry of gangs of bank robbers took $300 billion a year from banks in the U.S. every year. Would the public stand for groups of criminal stockbrokers looting their 401k savings and other pension plans? What would happen if a motorcycle gang went across the country and stole $300 billion every year from convenience stores across the country? There would be a hue and cry for the heads of the police and prosecutors who failed to stop the crime spree. Yet when the public is told that a group of criminals steals $300 billion every year from the insurance industry, the response is either a yawn or a cheer for the criminals who make Bernie Madoff, the Ponzi schemer, seem like an amateur. I have personally heard the following odd responses from prosecutors to whom insurance fraud cases were presented. 1. A confession on the record with 5 corroborating witnesses is not enough to support a fraud prosecution. 2. An insurance company can't be the victim of a crime. 3. You have a good case, but I don't have time to prepare an indictment or make the case go to a grand jury. 4. Juries don't like insurance companies. 5. Are you bringing this case because you don't want to pay a legitimate claim? 6. I don't understand what the claimant did wrong. 7. I don't see a crime. 8. I didn't know crimes existed in the insurance code. Regardless of the excuses posited by prosecutors, it is the duty of an insurer who suspects a fraud is being attempted to report that suspicion to the state's Department of Insurance and or local prosecutors. It is not an insurer's obligation to prosecute, only provide the authorities with evidence sufficient to allow the fraud investigators or prosecutors to make a decision to prosecute or not. Only insurance companies and other insurers are obligated by law to investigate claims against them, collect the evidence, and then present that evidence to criminal prosecutors. Banks are not, convenience stores are not, only insurance companies. And then they get refused. This part of Zalma's insurance fraud letter was adapted from my book, Property Investigation Checklists, Uncovering Insurance Fraud, 13th edition, available as both an ebook and a paperback from Thomson Reuters. Zalma's insurance fraud letter also reports on a postal inspector who was found guilty of insurance fraud. Jason Weber pled guilty to a charge of theft of government funds. At the time of the offense, Weber was serving as a postal inspector, that is, a federal police officer. The court sentenced him to a 2-year term only of probation and ordered him to pay $65,634 in restitution. He filed a petition for writ of coram nobis, alleging that new evidence suggested that his indictment may have been based on malfeasance and mishandling of evidence on the part of the government. In United States of America versus Jason Weber, the United States District Court considered Weber's attempt to reverse his conviction and refused to do so. A petition for writ of coram nobis is a rare form of collateral attack on a criminal prosecution. Coram nobis is available only to defendants who are out of custody and therefore may no longer petition for habeas corpus. Coram nobis is available to correct factual and legal errors in criminal cases where the defendant, 1, alleges an error of the most fundamental character enough to render the criminal conviction invalid, 2, provides sound reasons for his failure to seek earlier relief, and 3, demonstrates that he continues to suffer from his conviction even though he is out of custody. A fundamental error that invalidates a criminal proceeding is one that undermines confidence that the defendant is actually guilty, and only errors of great magnitude justify the cost of putting aside the interest in finality. Weber based his claims of fundamental error on new evidence he submitted with his brief. He contended that the evidence demonstrates not only that the insurance fraud scheme continued after his conviction, but also that his ex-wife and a prosecutor and police officer also were involved in the crime. In explaining how the evidence demonstrated his evidence, Weber presented a series of allegations. He claimed that his ex-wife Novak and Balak worked together to defraud the United States Postal Service. He asserted that the eBay receipt is the same doctored receipt he has previously accused his ex-wife of using. Weber further alleged that though no eBay purchases were ever made, someone purchased insurance for a package using that receipt. He doesn't say who. And that Novak received $297.20 payout from the claim. Weber then suggested that the very day Novak received the check, Weber's ex-wife made a loan payment in the same amount, suggesting without saying that these two events must be related. If true, Weber's allegations would be stunning. But both his allegations and his evidence were riddled with deficiencies. For example, Weber has offered nothing to show that the checks, receipts, or copy of the credit card are what he claims they are. None of the evidence he presented is authenticated, and Weber does not even make an effort to explain, let alone demonstrate, how he came to be in possession of these items, when they came into his possession, and who, if anyone, provided them to him. A federal police officer, a postal inspector, abused his profession by defrauding the United States Postal Service insurance facility by using his profession to take his fake insured posts from the stream of mail and then profited from making claims for lost insured mail. He was caught and pleaded guilty to the crime and was sentenced. With buyer's remorse, Weber then accused his ex-wife and his prosecutor with the crime to which he pleaded guilty, and had the unmitigated gall to file a petition coram nobis to expunge his conviction with a frivolous, undocumented claim that his ex-wife and his prosecutor were the actual criminals. No one likes being convicted, but to try and change a plea of guilt by accusing an ex-wife and a prosecutor is simply a waste of time and should never have been put in the hands of a judge, who probably should have sanctioned him for bringing this silly motion in coram nobis. In addition to the articles we've discussed, this issue contains multiple reports of health insurance fraud convictions, convictions of other types of insurance fraud, marketing insurance from my friend Dennis Richard, about videos and other insurance fraud, new books that I have written, including the book It's Time to Abolish the Tort of Bad Faith, and how it might be useful to anyone who is a vendor to insurance companies to make gifts of books from the insurance claims library as a method of marketing to the insurance industry without doing specific marketing. It is a way to help insurance claims personnel become more professional and give you more business. If you found this video to be useful or interesting to you or your friends or your colleagues, please pass it on. It's free. And please also subscribe to my YouTube channel, my Rumble channel, my blog, and to the Zalma Insurance Fraud Letter, all of which are available at the link to the Zalma's Insurance Fraud Letter, which shows on Zalma.com. Thank you for your attention.